Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Waiting to be profiled are actor Harry Goerner and soprano Angel Blue. You've seen actor Harry Goerner on stages across the United States with and without a beard. He's been nominated for a Tony in song and dance roles on Broadway for Cats, Crazy for You, Oklahoma, and he played King Arthur in Spamalot. He plays a different kind of king right now at the Deaf West Theater in North Hollywood, King Lear. Harry's a founding member of the Antaeus Company, and it goes way back to 1991, doesn't it?
Yeah, the Antaeus Company, yes, it was started. Dakin Matthews, who plays the other Lear, just so the audience knows, the Antaeus Company, one of the foundations of the company is that we double cast all the shows.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you about, because that's really important. It started at the Taper Theater.
No, it didn't start at the Taper
Theater.
It didn't? No. What happened was, the way the Antaeus Company started, Kenneth Branagh brought his company over. I forget the name of it at the moment, but he brought his company over with Lear and with Midsummer. And Gordon Davidson saw that production, of course, at the Taper, and just loved it so much, and felt that that American, certainly in this town, that actors weren't willing to commit to a company the way that those groups of actors did. So Dakin Matthews took up the gauntlet and said, I don't think that can happen. And what he did was he gathered a bunch of actors in the area over a period of time and asked them, how do we start this company? From those meetings, about 35 to 40 actors were chosen, and we started work at the Taper. Gordon gave us the facility.
I see.
It wasn't started by the Taper.
No, I didn't think it was started by the Taper, but I didn't realize that Gordon gave you the Taper to work with.
On Monday nights when it was dark, he gave us the rehearsal rooms. There were 3 rehearsal rooms there, and he let us use those rehearsal rooms.
But that's
to start.
Quite a commitment
to
what you were doing.
He was and is extremely supportive of the company. So was Michael Ritchie now.
And then you came in. Did you come in the beginning?
Oh, yeah.
And why did you want to start this just for actors?
Well, what we wanted to do was start
classics. Classics.
Exactly, a classical theater, a classical company, because so many of us felt that there were so many wonderful plays and wonderful stories told by Chekhov, Ibsen, Shakespeare. That don't get seen all the time, certainly in this town, and to try to figure out how to maintain a company of actors that can commit themselves to doing this, because we're basically a waiver theater, we're not getting paid. So how do you do this? And one of the ways to do it is that you double cast.
That's what I was going to ask you. Yeah. So you double cast, which means 2 people play the role.
There were two full casts.
There are 2
full casts of Lear, and they play alternate nights. And Dakin Matthews, who started the company, plays Lear in that company, and I play Lear in this company.
But the reason, one of the reasons from what I understand, is that you're all working in Hollywood.
Yeah.
You all have films and TV and different stages that you have to go to for work, for living. Right, for your living. And yet, you don't cover for each other, do you?
No, we do. There are crossovers. In fact, in the middle of rehearsals, the other actress, Tessa Thompson, who plays Cordelia, got the Color Girls movie that I believe has finished shooting. I think it has. And so she's been off doing that. So Rebecca Mozo
that's who I saw.
is playing Cordelia in both companies at the moment.
Oh, so she plays both parts.
At the moment, yeah.
You've been in 60 TV shows.
Yeah.
So you can be called at any time. And if it's your turn to play Lear, Then Dakin comes in?
Yes.
I see,
That's basically, that's
see.
theoretically how it works.
I see. So, in between, do you rehearse in between your gigs or in between the
Rehearse
theater thing?
in between the...
In between doing TV, do you come back and do you rehearse other shows? Do you do table readings?
Oh, there's
all
lots
the
of table
time?
reading. There's so much work that we have so much product there at the NTS company. At the moment, what's happening not only is the production of the two companies of Lear, but we've already begun our Classics Fest with the first reading of a play. It's been this whole week, is Peace in Our Time by Noel Coward. But there are about 12 or 13 plays that will be done over Classics Fest, which is usually about a month.
Oh, so that's great.
And so they'll do Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and then our company plays
I see.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Tell me how a song and dance man, I guess you're a song and dance man,
I've done it.
got and fell so heavily in love with the classics.
Well, I started out when I was a kid, I started out as a dancer. But then, shortly after I began studying with a ballet company in San Francisco, shortly after I started that, I got involved in the theater. So, in school, in high school.
Were you born in San Francisco?
No, I was born in Germany.
Oh, you were?
Yes, I was raised there.
Oh, you were? So you speak German?
A little bit. I spoke more when I was a kid.
But do you understand?
Yeah,
a
I
little bit?
understand more, Russian and German.
Do you think that helps your acting ability?
I don't know if it helps the acting ability. I think having European parents gives you a particular perspective.
Different.
A little different. But,
like to go on in the ballet, into a ballet company or studying with ballet?
Well, both my parents danced. They weren't professional dancers, but they used that as part of their training. And they said that if you want to be, and I want to be a jazz dancer, so if you wanted to be a really good dancer, they said, you have to take ballet.
The classics.
And so I got
Back to the classics.
Back to the classics. So I got into a ballet company, and I was in that company for a number of years, and it was going to be my life. I loved ballet.
That's fantastic.
And then we did a lot of the ballets. We did Nutcracker, Swan Lake, Giselle, Coppelli.
Wow.
And then I
That's so
fell out of
great.
love with ballet and got back into, did a lot of musical theater, but I've actually done more plays than I have musicals.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So King Arthur and King Lear, anything alike?
I don't know that they're anything alike.
Nothing.
No, but you have King Arthur was Monty Python's King Arthur.
I know.
Other than they're kings, and it's in ancient Britain, I guess.
How did you do research for each one of them? Because they're so different.
Well, there's not much research you have to do other than watch Monty Python and the Holy Grail for Spamalot. I did read a lot about the King Arthur and the myth of King Arthur at that time, but for Lear. I read many books prior to it and saw 7 films.
Different interpretations too, right? How do you keep your voice? Because Spamalot you sang all the time. King Lear you're shouting on this little stage.
I know.
How do you do it?
Well, that's the real test. It's only 2 shows a week, so it shouldn't be a problem. But
it's long. It's 3 hours long.
I know it is. You can't do Lear for under 3 hours. You really can't. But I think the real test to do this part is an 8-show week, and we don't have that. Can you imagine that? 8 shows with matinees?
No.
How do you do that?
And you're in the middle of this tiny stage. You're in the center. Does it feel like a big stage to you?
No, it feels like a small stage.
Does is it the same strength on a small stage as on a large stage?
The benefit to doing it on a small stage is that when you need to become a bit more intimate in the dialogue and in the scenes, you can, because you don't have to project it to a house that's 800, 900, 1,000, 1,500 seats. If you're doing it at the Globe, Robert Foxworth is doing it at the Globe at the moment, that's a much larger stage, and so you have to be just a bit bigger. And that's all right, but in a smaller stage, smaller space like we have at Deaf West, you can be smaller. You can be a bit more quiet, and I think that helps in some of the scenes.
Well, it feels like you're talking to us because you're just about on us.
You're only a few feet from me.
But you talked about these dual roles and a double cast. How does the costuming work on that?
You try to. I think what Jeffrey did is do a similar color pattern.
That's your costumer.
Yeah,
A similar pattern.
A similar pattern in terms of color, but you can't duplicate the costume because the bodies are totally different. Dakin and I are totally different shapes.
Yeah, you can't wear his robes.
No, the only thing that we share is the cape in the very first scene.
Oh, because I was wondering, that's very grand.
Yeah, that's very big, and that we share that cape, and he wore that in some other production, I found out.
Oh, I was wondering if some of them were made or if you rented some of them.
No, they're pretty much rented. Everything is rented.
Everything's rented. The director, Bart DiLorenzo, is like a choreographer, moving all those people on stage. Is that a director has to be a choreographer?
Well, a lot of what happens in rehearsal is that Bart is very good in letting the actors solve some of the problems themselves.
And that's spatial.
And that's spatial. So he'll let us figure out in many instances the movement of it, the blocking of it, and also in terms of the characters. He'll let us figure things out, and maybe correct a few things here and there, but basically let us work it out.
And I noticed you kind of walked around and you were eating things. Do you really eat on stage?
Yes.
To eat.
No, there is one scene where there's a bowl brought out and there are cut apples and pieces of bread, and some of the actors like the bread, and I like the apple because it's juicy and doesn't get dry anymore. So I do eat an apple.
You do eat on the stage. The other thing that I found, and I think it worked so well because it made you feel like you were in a huge room, was the fantastic storm and the way the lights go out. You're just absolutely in pitch black.
Yeah, yeah.
And you hear the wind. That design, that audio design with the lights is fantastic.
Oh, I know the sound is lovely in the show, I think.
Is it really the sound from the theater that does it, or is it the way he's created it?
It's the way the sound has been designed by the sound designer.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
And you come in and we're kind of rumbling. That rumbling is going on in the background all the time while you're carrying on, and you come in wet.
Yes, we throw water on ourselves. You know what's so interesting about that is Dakin did this production a couple of years ago in Pittsburgh. Not this production, did Lear before. And in that production, he said that they actually had rain on stage, and so you got totally wet.
Oh, wow.
And he said, what's interesting about that experience is when you get totally wet, he says, there's really no acting required. You just respond to whatever's happening to you physically because you're totally wet. And I wish we had we can't do that on stage because then you wet the whole stage. You can't do that. So we have a pan that's filled with water, and I just douse myself as much as I can. And then just put it all over me, and hopefully it gives the impression that we're all wet.
Which also reminds me of the makeup when you pull the eye.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's so real. The makeup is so great, and you know that the actors are doing it. They have to do it, right?
The illusion is good. It's a good illusion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who do you think made King Lear mad? Who made him so crazy?
Who made him crazy?
His daughters? Himself?
I think it's a number of reasons, and I don't think that he goes totally crazy.
You think it's part of his act?
No, it's not an act. I think that what happens is that he finds it very difficult to deal with the rejection of three daughters.
I see.
That's one thing that's very difficult for him to deal with. Also, the fact that he has to come to terms with taking responsibility for causing all this. If he hadn't asked that question right at the very, very beginning,
who do you
love most? If he hadn't asked that, if you think about that, if you think about in that moment where he asks that question, that little thought, what that little thought does, it kills people. It causes a war, and it destroys his country, and it kills him. That little thought, and the way he reacts to it. But he goes crazy because he doesn't know how to deal with it. And the only way I think that he can deal with it is for his mind to change the reality in a way that is safe, so that when he comes in and he's totally mad, or supposedly totally mad, I don't think he really is. I think he does have hallucinations. But that can also come from the fact that he is sleep deprived, he hasn't eaten.
Oh, right.
So there are physical things that can contribute to having hallucinations.
Right.
I know that when I was a kid, I stayed up for a very long time, and I did hallucinate. So I know that you can have that from sleep deprivation. But at that point, in the scene where he's supposedly the most mad, he also is the most lucid. And
because
he
he's saying what's Yeah.
But he sees things that he didn't see. Part of the theme in this is his blindness. Not only Gloucester's, who is a physical blindness,
yes, right.
but Lear's blindness.
Right.
He doesn't see who really loves him. He doesn't see that Cordelia is the good sister. He doesn't see that Kent is his best friend. He doesn't see these things. He's blind to it because of his own pride, his own stupidity, his own ego goes to a place that makes all this happen.
Well, we all see that, don't we? That happens so much, and we don't see it. When you go out to take another role, what happens with your beard? It's a real beard, isn't it?
It is. It's a real beard. It'll go.
You'll take it off?
It'll go.
And then what happens if you have to come back and play Lear?
Well, then you got to change it. No.
Can you do a fake beard?
You can. I don't want to do it. I don't want to.
You would never do that.
But I've seen Lears with no beard. I've seen beards
Oh,
with
you
shiny
can.
beards.
Oh.
You can play Lear anyway.
All right, that's one good question. I think the other thing that you say on stage is, the young arise when the old doth fall.
Yeah, that's
the
at
key.
the end of the play. Yes.
Isn't that the key?
Yeah.
I mean, no matter how crazy he went or what he did with his kids, he was going to be gone, and they were going to rise.
It also says, "Speak what you feel, not what you ought to say."
Yes, what you feel, because that's when you can do it. Right? That's the only time you can do it.
Because that's what happens. That's what happens. Shakespeare, at the very end of the play, says something at the very beginning. The two older sisters say what they think they should say,
right.
And Cordelia says what she feels.
They say what they think they should say, and she says the truth. Fantastic interview. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for making it so clear. Now we have to go see it again.
Please go see it again.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Don't go away. We'll be right back with soprano Angel Blue. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome back to the Joan Quinn Profiles. I'm here with singer Angel Blue, who graduated from the LA County High School of the Arts, went on to earn a Bachelor of Music from University of Redlands, and a Master's in Music and Opera Performance at UCLA. Angel was a member of the Domingo Thornton Young Artists, which is part of the LA Opera Company, and she made her company debut in La Boheme, conducted by Placido Domingo. Was that pretty exciting?
It's great.
How do you get into that Thornton project, Thornton School?
Well, normally, I think everyone else, what they have to do is they have
normal people.
Normal people. What they have to do is apply. And the application process, it's kind of simple but sort of tedious because they have to make a CD, have references, and actually send in. But I was very blessed because I was at UCLA, and the director at the time, Karen Ashley, actually came to UCLA to hear students, and I was one of the students she heard. So
it's kind of like masterclass.
Totally, exactly. Yes, it's completely like masterclass.
It's like when you were saying you were auditioning or you were at UCLA and they came out to find you.
Yes.
And then how many do they take in the program?
Well, my year that I was there was about, I guess, maybe 7 of us.
Oh, it's very small.
Very small, but I think now there's probably 9 or 10.
But still small.
But still
it's
small.
It's not a big group.
Yes, it's sort of it's very important to be in this program.
It's called Domingo Thornton, right?
Yes.
Flora Thornton started it,
Yes,
and Placido Domingo, and we loved Flora. She was, and I think her memory will live on as one of the great patronesses of all the arts.
Always.
You didn't work at the Thornton School at USC, did you?
No, but I met her when I was 15 years old.
You did?
Yes, and so I've known Miss Thornton for years, and she's always been such an inspiration to me, her and her husband. So.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yes.
So who teaches that in that program? Is it a teaching program?
Yes, it's a fantastic program. I mean, I have so many great experiences at LA Opera. There are acting classes, there are dancing classes, and of course you have the opportunity to hear all of the professional opera singers coming in from all over the world to sing, and you can always sit behind James Conlon and watch him conduct and pick his brain a little bit. So it's a great
Do they do everything at Disney Hall?
No, everything
at the Music
Dorothy,
Center?
Yes, most things are done at the Dorothy. Well, the operas, of course, are done at the Dorothy
I'm
Chandler.
sorry, yeah.
But there are little events that are held outside.
But do they
around
do the
Los
teaching?
Angeles.
Does all the rehearsing and everything go on?
Everything happens at the Opera House.
Oh,
yes.
it does. It does. So, were you born and raised in L.A.?
No, I'm actually from. I was actually born in Montclair, but I grew up in Apple Valley, between Barstow and Apple Valley. So I'm sort of a desert
That's
girl.
the University of Redlands.
Yes, that's the University of Redlands. Yes.
Was your family opera oriented?
Oh, everyone. Every
Yes?
single person, yes.
How?
Well,
Tell me.
my father, I have a great family, and my family we love music. So my father actually started out studying when he was a child opera, and he listened to old recordings of Caruso and Franco Corelli and all of these great singers. One of his favorite singers was Placido Domingo.
Oh my
so
gosh.
I grew up listening to Domingo and Price and listening to Zubin Mehta conduct and Lauren Mazel conduct. So it just sort of, it was going to happen some way or another, you know.
Oh, that's
singing.
fantastic. Did he ever perform professionally?
He did, actually. He performed with the Conejo Symphony Orchestra. He performed with the Cleveland Symphony. He's actually from Ohio, so yes.
So anyone else in your family?
My mother tries to sing, but she's a great pianist.
Oh, so she accompanies you guys.
Yes, she does help us with learning music.
Oh, that's fantastic. From 2008 to 2010,
Yes.
after the LA Opera, I guess, is it after the Thornton
Yes.
project? You sang all over the world. You were in
Yes.
opera houses all over. How do you
Yes.
get booked into those places?
Well, I have to be honest. Again, it's not normal. It's not a normal way. Most people have managers that help them and
That's what
guide
I
them.
wondered, yeah.
But I'm just so blessed because I've had Domingo. And I had a sit down with Maestro Domingo after I was I was accepted into the Metropolitan Opera Young Artist Program.
Oh, that too.
Yes, but I didn't go because I sort of wanted to I wanted stage experience, basically. And so Maestro Domingo said, well, I'll do the best that I can for you. And I told him that I wanted to see the world because I'd never really been out of the United States. And so he sent me to Spain, which is where I currently live in Valencia. And that just opened a plethora of doors for me, just so many doors.
What are you doing here? You live in Valencia. You live in Las Vegas too?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm like, how did you choose these two places? Las Vegas is
Yes.
not an opera city, is it?
No, not at all.
But Valencia is.
It's becoming more of an artsy city, yes. Yes, but I chose Las Vegas actually because I competed in pageants for many years, for about 5 years.
Because you're so tall.
Yes, I'm very tall, and I was actually looking for money for college.
Oh, how
and
great.
yes, so I competed in pageants, and I competed here in California for about 3 years, and then I was always first runner-up or second runner-up, and so I said, well, let's see what happens in Nevada. So my family actually moved to Nevada, so I moved to Nevada too and competed there.
And you
know.
won.
No, I was first runner-up again.
Oh, no.
Yes, but it's okay. If it was supposed to happen, it would have.
Let's go back to Spain.
Yes.
You won first place.
Yes.
You did win first place in the Zarzuela competition. Tell us what that is, because that's really close to Domingo's heart, isn't it?
It is. I won the Pepita Embil Domingo Prize. And for me, that's a huge honor because this is his mother. This is, his
it was
roots.
his mother.
Yes. And so Zarzuela is Spanish operetta. And it's very difficult. It's very, very
Is it?
difficult. I find it to be very hard, and I sing in at least 7 languages, But Spanish, even though it's so close to home, because I have not only so many Spanish friends now, but I find that the Spanish operetta, Zarzuela, is full of so much soul, which actually makes it easier to sing, even though it's so complicated.
I saw one of those operas that Domingo was in D.C. a few years ago.
Yes.
And it was like more like folk songs to me, or folk movements.
Yes.
And it is
Yes.
more like that, I guess.
Yes. It's very specific to the culture. There are a lot of things in Zarzuela that bring out the Spanish culture. They talk about the streets in Madrid and the women and how they dressed. So it's a wonderful thing.
And talking about running for these beauty pageants and different pageants, you didn't have to do this because the Schwarzeneggers really like you.
Yes.
And
Thank you.
so the governor likes you a lot.
Yes.
You did something with the with Maria's Women's Council conference?
Yes,
and
last
with Arnold?
year. Yes, last year actually I was in the women's conference, and I've also sung for the Border Governors Conference and a few other things that they've had. They've just been very helpful.
They
very
call you all
encouraging.
the time?
I don't know about all the time, but they call me a lot, which
They
is a
call
blessing.
you a lot, which is great.
Yes.
Now, let's get to the California Philharmonic.
Okay.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, this is my third time working with Cal Phil. And I met Victor Venner in, I guess, the summer of 2008. And I just fell in love with him and his wife and the whole organization. California Philharmonic is a really nice organization. And what I like about them is that they gave me a chance when I was very young. I'm still young, but I was very young. And
Was it before the Thornton Domingo?
It was sort of in the middle of it. And I didn't,
so he recognized you as
Yes.
a good singer.
Yes, and he gave me the opportunity to sing with his orchestra, and so I'm very happy to be back.
He's great.
Yes, he
and
really
he's
is.
very knowledgeable, and he tells fantastic stories
Yes.
from the stage
Yes.
before he conducts a piece. But
Right.
you're not singing a full opera when you perform with them,
No,
are you?
no.
What do you call that?
What do I call it?
Is it like concert?
Just a concert.
Is
yes.
it? And what will you be singing?
Well, I'll be singing some of my favorite arias. I'll be singing Visidarte
From?
Tosca by Puccini. I'll be singing O mio babbino caro, Brindisi with the fabulous tenor Matthew Edwardson, and a couple of other things. But if you want to know, you should come.
It's at the Arboretum.
The Arboretum and the
also
Walt Disney Concert
Walt
Hall.
Disney Concert Hall. That's why I got a little bit confused in the beginning.
Yes.
But do you wear costumes?
No, I just wear a gown. Just a nice gown.
And who chooses the program?
Normally it's done between me and Maestro.
Oh, it is?
Usually it's how it's done. But he had a specific idea for this one. Andrew Lloyd Webber Goes to Italy. So
Oh, is that what it
yes,
is?
it's very
Oh.
cute.
Oh, so will you be singing any of Lloyd Webber's
Yes,
songs?
just one song.
What is that?
All I Ask of You.
Oh,
Yes.
that's very touching, isn't
Yes.
it?
Yes, and there's a lot of great singers on the program, so a huge chorus.
Oh,
So.
and where do the other singers come from? Who else is singing?
Matthew Edwardson is singing, Ralph Cato is singing, and I forget the other two young women.
Do you
names,
do you rehearse with them?
Yes.
Are you rehearsing?
Yes, we all rehearse together this whole week.
Oh,
It's all
it
rehearsal.
is. Oh, and is
Yes.
it down? Where does rehearsal take place?
The first rehearsal actually was at Maestro's home because we
Oh.
just wanted to sort of play through everything. And we had a rehearsal 2 days ago at Walt Disney, and tomorrow night we'll be at the Arboretum.
So if people come in from out of town, they have to stay for that whole week. It's a whole week's
Oh, yes.
time, right?
Yes, a whole week.
Rehearsing and
Yes.
doing things. Do you have time in between to go anywhere or do anything?
Well, right now I'm kind of happy just to be home and not doing anything because I've been traveling so much. I was in Budapest last week and
Oh, yeah.
Spain and Paris, so happy to be home.
Do you find when you go to those different countries to sing, do they coach you on your work? I mean, the director directs, but
Yes.
is there any other kind of teaching involved?
Well, I think so. When we have rehearsals with the orchestra, normally the maestro will say, well, maybe we should do it this way or that way, but they're not really teaching you anything.
I see.
As a singer, I've learned
You have to
definitely
know.
you come prepared completely.
I see. And you talked about Lloyd Webber. Would you ever think about going into commercial music from
Oh, yes.
opera? Yes.
Always, yes. I always think about it. I always
Like
sort of think
what?
of it.
Like an acting and having an acting career?
I would love to have an acting career. I actually studied Elizabethan technique actually when I was in high school, when I was at Loxat. So I would love acting, yes.
And commercial singing would take you on, say, the Broadway stage, or could.
Yes.
Have you ever done anything like that?
I've done a few musicals, but I have to say I need to be a little bit stronger with the musical because going back and forth between singing and the speaking, that's not something
Oh.
that most opera singers
Oh.
are fully prepared to do.
That's very interesting.
Yes.
That's the difference in being from one to the other.
Yes.
I see.
Yes.
Well, we're so happy you're with us.
Thank you.
And we hope you stay in Los Angeles.
Thank you
Are you
so
going
much.
back to Valencia?
I do, but I don't go back until the end of October, so I'm home for a while.
Oh, that's great.
Yes.
And thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you. All of you viewers, thank you for watching. Keep writing to 777 South Figueroa, 44th floor, Los Angeles, 90017. But I'd love to have your email, JAQUINN1@AOL.com. And we'll see you next time on the Joan Quinn Profiles.